This TBR is very long. Hi, I'm Colleen. If it's your first time at this channel, welcome. Here we talk about books and writing because I'm a librarian and an author. In the description, I'll have a link to my newsletter where you can sign up to get early reviews and lots of writing news. I'll also put a link for my newest release coming out in June 20th called Finding His Mate. And let's get started with the video. So if you watch my channel, I bought a lot of books in May for my 40th birthday. So the majority of the books on this TBR are from my birthday. Now, I bought way more books than I could read in May and June, probably July too. So I'm going to talk about all of them, mainly because I really want to mood read this month. I don't want to sort of give myself a set TBR to stick to. I want to read whatever I want in this big pile of books I have. So that's why this TBR is going to be so long. A lot of these books I'm not going to get to in June. I think probably more than half, but I'll read a bunch of them in July and then finish up whatever I haven't gotten to in August. And my summer is set just like that. I was going through all my titles and I will say, I keep looking over there because that's where I have all the books piled up. This is kind of a romance fantasy heavy list. So I tend to also read historical fiction and contemporary fiction and thrillers. And while there is one thriller on here, this definitely leans heavily into both fantasy and romance, which makes sense because those are two of my favorite genres. Without further ado, let's get into it. The first book on my TBR is An English Bride in Scotland by Lindsay Sands. I'm really surprised I didn't read this one in May, but my mood just never got to historical romance this month, which is odd. But this is a book that was so many people were talking about on Twitter about a month ago, and I thought I had to try it. It's about a woman who is about to take her vows to be a nun, and then her mom shows up and says, no, you actually have to marry your sister's fiance because your sister's gone. And it goes from there, and it's supposed to be bonkers, and I love a bonkers romance. Next, this is my break in case of emergency book slump emergency book, so hopefully I won't get one in June, and if I don't get one by July, I'll probably just read it. But it's This Scott of Mine by Sophie Jordan. This is book 4 in the Rogue Files. It's about a woman who has a horrible fiance, so she lies and says she's pregnant, so she doesn't have to marry him. She goes to live out her days as a disgraced spinster in Scotland because she's obviously not actually pregnant, and she's gonna meet a Scottish laird who probably doesn't care if her reputation is tarnished. All right, now switching away from historical romance, I have In a Jam by Kate Canterbury. This is about Shay, whose step-grandmother dies and leaves her a tulip farm, but she has two conditions. She has to move to the farm and run it, and she also has to get married within a year, but Shay has just broken up with her fiance. So she reconnects with a guy she knew in high school, and I have a feeling there might be a little bit of a fake marriage in here, and I'm really excited to read it. It's a big, thick one, but I feel like summer is the time to read a big, thick romance novel. Next, I've got Broken Bonds by Jay Bree. This is a fantasy romance, and I think it's supposed to be pretty dark, and I feel like this might be a wide choose. This just kept coming up. I wanted to read some dark romance, and it kept getting recommended, so I grabbed it. I know that there's some weird relationships with you have people you're bonded to or creatures. I don't even know if they're human, but I know I like, monstery romance type stuff, and so yeah, I really wanted to try it. I also really enjoy this cover. I think it's quite beautiful. And it has a great back as well. So next, I have a book that is not romance nor fantasy, and it's Lost Lake by Sarah Addison Allen. She writes magical realism, and this one is about a woman who spent a lot of time at a lake when she was a child and is going back to that same lake for a summer when she's an adult. And I know there's going to be some magic in it, and I really loved Other Birds, which I read last September, and I also really loved Garden Spells by Sarah Addison Allen, which is why I grabbed this one, and I'm sure it won't disappoint. Okay, we're going to move into fantasy for a moment, and I have Age of Swords by Michael J. Sullivan. This is book 2 in the Legends of the First Empire. Age of Myth is book 1, and it's behind me, so I can show you the cover. So there's book 1. I read this one in January, and I really liked it. It gave me a lot of Tolkien vibes, but this one's a lot longer. And this first book is about a human killing a member of this race of creatures that humans had thought were gods. And it sort of puts the world on its head. And so I wanted to dive back into this world at some point this summer. I thought it would be a nice read. Now we're going to look at everything I have on my Kindle because I do have a lot of ARCs on my Kindle and a couple books I've purchased over the last couple months. So I'm going to tell you about all of them. I have my Kindle right here so I can just read directly from it. Okay. I did recently buy this Beach Reads box set that Penny Reed was talking about because there's a Kate Canterbury on there. And I was like really in a Kate Canterbury mood earlier this month. Hence what I bought in a jam. And so I bought that one too. But there's a ton of authors in there. That's probably something that I'll just pick up if I get in like a bit of a book slump. I'll try one of those. Okay, then I have Even If the Sky is Falling, which there's the cover. There are a ton of authors on this. I'm not going to remember them all right now because the ARC cover doesn't have their names, but Cherish Reed is on there, Sarah Smith is on there, Denise Williams is on there, and I'm blanking on who else is in there. But it's a bunch of short, like novella-y type romance stories that have to do with like the apocalypse, but in a very like funny way. So I'm looking forward to reading that one. I will probably pick that one up right at the beginning of June. Then I have Irish Goodbye by Katie Hunter. That is the second in her series that is called The Maguires. And it's about a group of cousins who are in like a boy band and how they fall in love. So it's like celebrity romance. The first in the series was Love Ireland. I loved it. I'll also read this one very soon. I also got the ARC for The Duke's Starts a Scandal by Sophie Jordan. This is the fourth and last book in the Duke Hunt series, and I can't wait to read it. I've been loving that series, but honestly, that book doesn't come out, I think, until October, so I think I will probably save that one for later in the summer, so I'm reviewing it closer to when it's actually coming out. Next, I have an ARC called, I'm going to butcher it because it's a French word, papillon. It's like the French word for butterfly. I took enough French that I remember it means butterfly. It's by Sonia Palermo. And this, I honestly grabbed this ARC just based on like an Instagram picture she put up with a quote that was super spicy. And I was like, I want to read that book. So I grabbed it, which, that's like a really good way to sell books on Instagram. Just being honest. I also have Wolfborn by Celia Hart, which I think I talked about in my last video. That is a paranormal romance with werewolves. I have Cruel Seduction by Katie Robert, which is the newest book in her Dark Olympus series. I have Dangerous Waters, which is a collection of mermaid, siren, sea monster themed short works that Desiree Nicolay has a piece in, and she wrote Call to the Deep and Song of Lorelei, which I love both of those, so I grabbed that. And I think that's everything. I think those are all my ARCs. Yeah, so quite a few. But, nothing a summer can't handle, right? Okay, now let's talk about Book of the Month. Okay, so I bought 3 books in May, and I didn't finish any of them yet, which isn't that odd because of having my birthday. I bought so many books that I wanted to read so badly, so I was obviously going to read those first. But I did start The Last Word by Taylor Adams. I am on page 50. And here's the thing, I did like this a lot, but it's very scary. And if you know me, you know I like thrillers, but I am a scaredy cat. So here's the plan. The last couple weeks in May have been extremely stressful for in my life. I've had just so many things with my kids. 3 of my kids are graduating schools that they go to. I have 2 preschoolers going to kindergarten next year. I have a 4th grader going to middle school. So there's been a ton of end of year activities. My girls were all just in their dance show. So we had lots of rehearsals and performances. And I really wasn't sleeping well because of this, because I'm one of those people that stress affects my sleep terribly. And so I couldn't read something that also might make me not sleep. But once school ends and our mornings are a little slower and I don't have to be up at 6 every day and I can relax and breathe for a little while, then I will finish reading The Last Word, because I did really like the writing style. It just was slightly too scary and stressful for me to read at this point of the year, but I'm definitely going to read it at the beginning of June once they're out of school because I want to finish it. And it's very creepy so far. Next, I got Clytemnestra by Costanza Casati, and this is a Greek mythology retelling of the character of Clytemnestra, who is the wife of Agamemnon. And I really like her character in mythology. Without spoiling too much, if you know Agamemnon, he is not a good guy. And he is a warrior in the Trojan War, and she stays home and pretty much plots her revenge on him for 10 years. The only reason I didn't read this one in May is because spoiler for my wrap up, I did read Atalanta by Jennifer Saint in May because I was really excited for that book. And I just didn't want to read 2 Greek mythology retellings in the same month. So I will probably get to this one in June because I am very excited for it. And I think it'll be a great one. And then my last book of the month book that I didn't read yet is The Last Tale of the Flower Bride by Roshani Chokshi. And this, I'm like having a hard time remembering what this is about. But it is about, it's about a woman who makes a deal with her husband, like, I'm going to marry you, but you can never ask about my family. But then something happens and they have to go see her family. And I've heard really good things about it. And it's like supposed to be like a little bit gothic-y, which I like my fantasy a little bit gothic-y sometimes. But I am looking forward to that. What I really like is the chapter headings are Azur, who I believe is a character, and the bridegroom, not like a name. So I do wonder if one of the main characters is just not going to be named, which is kind of cool. I like when fantasy novels do stuff like that. And then, of course, I will have to pick my June book of the month picks. And as I'm filming this right now, they're not out yet, which usually they aren't when I film, but I will splice in me picking them at some point if they can. And I'll wait until they come out because I did recently do a video in which I did guess what the picks were going to be. So I want to see how well I did or how terrible I did. But I also this month got approved, because some Book of the Month members have been getting this, to purchase up to 5 books a month now. I don't think I will do this, mainly because I don't like to have too many Book of the Month books that are unread, like in my TBR. Like right now I have these 3, plus I have Babel, which I started and then never finished. And I'm not like officially DNFing it. I don't know. I thought the beginning of it was so boring. I couldn't get into it. And there's so much other stuff I want to read. So I've been taking a very long break. I think I started it in February, but I might eventually read it. But like when you open your Book of the Month account, they have like, please rate these books you haven't rated yet. And it just like gives me anxiety that I currently have 4 books on there that aren't rated. So I'm going to have to read at least 2 of these before I get any more, so I don't have a panic. Good morning. Book of the Month just released their June titles. I, for some reason, feel very much like I'm going to have gotten all of them wrong, but we'll see. I have 2 kids home who are trying to be very good right there, but there might be some choppiness if I have to edit them out. But let's go ahead and open up Book of the Month. Okay, so right away I get a thing that says, hey BFF, it's your birthday month, which last month was my birthday, but I don't know. They put a June add-on onto my box. I have a lot of add-ons right now, so it's cool though. It says remember to redeem it. Oh, so maybe I can only redeem it this month, so I'll definitely get an add-on this month then. Oh, the first book is The Wishing Game by Meg Schaefer. And for some reason, after I did the video, I was like, I should have put that one on, but I didn't. It's contemporary fiction. This moving, transportative story follows 4 bookish souls competing for a rare book from their favorite author, which is something that I remember reading about that book months ago and thinking I would probably like it. So maybe it'll be the one that I pick. Next is Ink Blood Sister Scribe, another one that I didn't find, by Emma Torres. And this is a fantasy. In this epic adventure, 2 estranged sisters bear the weighty responsibility to protect their magical family library. Please give me one at least that I guessed, or at least researched. Next is She Started It. I never even saw this. It's the author's name is Sian Gilbert. A thriller, revenge is a dish best served with champagne. And on this remote tropical island, it's the only thing on the menu. That sounds kind of good. Next is, oh my God, I did so bad. Lady Tan's Circle of Women by Lisa C. Okay, so I saw that book was coming out, but I didn't think that they would do a Lisa C book. This sumptuous tale about female friendship and leadership in 15th century China, challenging women's place in society. I have one more chance to have gotten one of them right, and I'm going to go with I got 0. I got 0. Banyan Moon by Tao Tai. Wait, I know someone named Tao Tai. Hold on. Is that her? I haven't seen her since 2004. She was my husband's friend when he lived in the Netherlands. I'm going to have to do some research to see if that's the Tao Tai I know. That's weird. Okay. That's a literary fiction. A dilapidated Florida mansion is more than a home to this multi-generational story of Vietnamese mothers and daughters. I haven't seen her in so long. Like, honestly, I have no idea if that's her because it's been almost 20 years, but it could be. I mean, last time I saw her, she looked like a 20-year-old. Okay, let's look at the add-ons and see if I got any add-ons right. Oh my God, I got so many add-ons right. That makes me feel so much better. Okay. The add-ons are The 5-Star Weekend by Ellen Hilderbrand, which I guess was going to be an add-on. The Whispers by Ashley Audrain, which I thought might be a pick. And The Spectacular by Fiona Davis, which I also thought might be a pick. So that makes me feel a little better that 3 add-ons were books that I wanted, or that I guessed. Sort of. I didn't guess any of these books to be the main 5. I didn't do great on it. Let's look at Spotlight. Yeah, those are all the same ones. Okay. Oh, my word. What a roller coaster. Wow, I did so bad. That's okay. That's okay. Now let's pick out what my books are going to be. Let's see. The Wishing Game. Synopsis. Lucy Hart knows better than anyone what it's like to grow up without parents who loved her. In a childhood marked by neglect and loneliness, Lucy found her solace in books, namely the Clock Island series by Jack Masterson. Now a 26-year-old teacher's aide. God, that's what I did when I was 26. She is able to share her love of reading with bright young students, especially 7-year-old Christopher Lamb, who was left orphaned after a tragic death of his parents. Lucy would give anything to adopt Christopher, but even the idea of becoming a family seems like an impossible dream without proper funds or stability. That actually does not sound like something I would like, so we're going to switch. Ink Blood Sister Scribe. In this epic adventure, 2 estranged sisters bear the weighty responsibility to protect their magical family library. It's over 400 pages. Let's go down to the description. For generations, the Calate family has guarded a collection of ancient and rare books. Books that let a person walk through walls or manipulate the elements. Books of magic that half-sisters Joanna and Esther have been raised to revere and protect. All magic comes with a price, though. All magic comes with a price. Throwback if you watched Once Upon a Time. And for years, the sisters have been separated. Esther has fled to a remote base in Antarctica. Oh, that sounds kind of cool. To escape the fate that killed their own mother. And Joanna's isolated herself in their Vermont home, devoting her life to the study of those cherished volumes. But after their father dies suddenly while reading a book Joanna has never seen before, the sisters must reunite to preserve their family legacy. I'm going to say maybe on that one. She Started It. This is a debut thriller. There's an unlikable narrator. Oh, I love an unlikable narrator. The party of a lifetime is nothing like what they expected. Annabelle, Esther, Tanya, and Chloe are best friends, or were as children. Despite drifting apart in adulthood, shared secrets have kept them bonded for better or worse, even as their childhood dreams haven't quite turned out as they hoped. Then one day they receive a wholly unexpected, but not entirely unwelcome, invitation from another old friend. Poppy Greer has invited them all to her extravagant bachelorette party. A first-class plane ticket to 3 days of white sand cocktails and relaxation. None of them have spoken to Poppy in years, but Poppy's Instagram pics show that the girl they used to consider the weakest link in their group has definitely made good and made money. Curiosity gets the better of them. Besides, who can turn down a posh, all-expenses-paid vacation on the Caribbean? Agreed. So then it goes on. Ooh, it's very remote. No cell service, no other guests. Sounds like it's going to be like a locked island. I kind of want to read that. I'm having my breakfast. It's a banana and mixed berry smoothie. As a content warning, this book contains scenes depicting self-harm. I think I still want to read that. Next is the Lisa C. book. I don't know if I want to read that. I've never read a Lisa C. book. I did meet her once. Snowflower and the Secret Fan was really popular when I worked at a bookstore. And I probably sold 500 copies of it. But I don't really know if I want to read a historical fiction this month. And it says it's slow build, which makes me think it's going to have a slow beginning, which I don't think I want to read. Okay, let's get Banyan Moon by Tao Tai, who maybe I know. When Anne Tran gets the call that her fiercely beloved grandmother, Min... Sorry, my children are being quite loud. Hey, ladies, quiet down a little. When Anne Tran gets the call that her fiercely beloved grandmother, Min, has passed away, her life is already at a crossroads. In the years since she's last seen Min, Anne has built a seemingly perfect life, a beautiful lake house, a charming professor boyfriend, and invites to elegant parties that bubble over with champagne and good taste. It all crumbles with one positive pregnancy test, with both her relationship and carefully planned future now in question. Anne returns home to Florida to face her estranged mother, I don't know exactly how to pronounce this because they've got accents on it that I don't know how they make the vowel sound, but it's Huong, but the U and the O have an accent on them. Back in Florida, Huong is simultaneously mourning her mother and resenting her for having the relationship with Anne that she never did. Then Anne and Huong learn that Min has left them both the Banyan house, the crumbling old manor that was Anne's childhood home, and in all its strange Gothic glory, under the same roof for the first time in years, mother and daughter must face some questions. Okay, that actually sounds pretty good. And also the last paragraph says it's going to go like 1960s Vietnam to present day Florida, and I do like generational stories a lot. So that's a maybe. So I'm pretty much between the thriller, she started it, and Banyan Moon. I don't think I want to read Inkblood. I mean, I might eventually want to read Inkblood Sister Scribe. But I have 2 fantasy book of the months I haven't read yet, Clytemnestra and Last Tale of the Flower Bride. So I don't think I want to get a fantasy. Banyan Moon also has a really pretty cover. I am a sucker for a beautiful cover. I mean, I could technically get both of them. I have a lot of, what's it called, credits, and I'm allowed to get, 5 books this month if I want. Okay, I'm going to get Banyan Moon. Also, I'm just like super curious if that is the Tao Tai that I know. My husband would know. As soon as I stop filming, I am going to send the picture to her and ask if he knows if it's her. He probably would have told me. Okay, let's go to all books. I super want to get The 5-Star Weekend by Ellen Hilderbrand because I read Hotel Nantucket last June and I loved it. I might go crazy and get 4 books this month, even though I think I told myself in my previous part of this video you just watched that I was going to get like 2. Let's see. Hollis Shaw's life seems picture perfect. She's the creator of a popular food blog and is married to Matthew, a heart surgeon. But after she and Matthew get into a heated argument one snowy morning, he leaves for the airport and is killed in a car accident. I actually don't think I want to read that now. I don't know. Shoot. I don't know if I want to read something that's like sad like that. Right at the beginning. Bummer. Maybe I'll get The Spectacular instead by Fiona Davis. Oh, do I want to read that? I'm going to pause you and think for a minute. Okay, I did decide to get The 5-Star Weekend by Ellen Hilderbrand because I read the sample pages and it picks up where the Hotel Nantucket left off, and I really want to read that. I also decided I'm not going to get The Spectacular by Fiona Davis this month. I might get it next month or even like in August or September as an add-on eventually. So my box, let me redeem my credit, is Banyan Moon by Tao Tai. I will let you know in a later video if this is the person that I met in the Netherlands in 2004. She started it by Cian Gilbert, and The 5-Star Weekend by Ellen Hilderbrand, which seems like a pretty good box to round out my very long TBR with. All right, and just add very quickly, I called my husband, and that is not how the Tao we knew spelled her last name. And he looked at her picture and said it's not her. So he knew her way better than I do, but I still bought the book. So hopefully you just enjoyed watching me pick out my book of the month picks, and hopefully I was very excited at the sheer number of picks I got correct. What is the book you are most excited for on your June TBR, or what book's coming out in June that you're really excited for? I don't have a lot of releases in June that I'm like super excited for. I have a couple in July that I can't wait for them to come out that I've got on pre-order, but June is a little bit of like a quieter month for me in terms of books I'm like pumped to come out. And as you see, the majority of the books on my TBR are backlist titles. Thank you so much for hanging out and sticking around to the end of the video. If you're still here, give me a umbrella emoji because I hope at some point, like the beach umbrella, not like the rainy umbrella. I hope at some point we all get to sit under an umbrella, perhaps near a body of water or maybe just in a park or a yard, and read a good book this summer. As always, I hope you're in the middle of a good book, about to start reading a good book, or about to start writing a great book. I'll see you soon.